Hey students, Dr. Dan Stevens here. Module 1 in our course deals with defining public administration. What is public administration? Well, it's important, first of all, to distinguish it from political science, the politics administration dichotomy. Somewhere in your textbook, it refers to it as being two sides of the same coin. The politicians, they legislate, they make the policy, they make the rules, and we inherit it. We have to execute it, right? Um, for example, whenever in the state of Florida, here in the state of Florida, whenever we had Jeb Bush in office as our governor, they had the No Child Left Behind Act. I guess actually it wasn't that one. It was the class size amendment. Um, what happened was we said, okay, we want smaller class sizes. Well, so that was the policy side. Now public administration is like, okay, now make it work. Now these people in the schools are saying, okay, now how do we keep our classes under what 18 or 17 kids per instructor? Well, now you've got all these things. It was basically an unfunded mandate, is what it was. Um, you know, with there being less students per class, that means you got to find more classes, more teachers. Um, so they made the policy, be it via the legislature or the in this case the citizens. We, however, and this is the main point, we have to execute it. We have to figure it out. There are advantages to both now. For example, you're buzzing down the road, and the speed limit wasn't set by the police officer, but maybe that law enforcement officer has a little leeway whether or not they want to actually enforce it. I'm sure a lot of tears are involved or whatever, but just think about it. That's the one power they wield is, yes, the law says this, maybe I will and maybe I won't. That's our power, right? And a matter of fact, I'll give you one more example. President Andrew Jackson supposedly said after the Worcester versus Georgia Supreme Court case involving the Trail of Tears, says John Marshall's made his decision, now let him enforce it, referring now in this case to the Supreme Court, but still the same thing. His point was, we're the executive, the executive branch, the administrative side, we're the people that actually do on behalf of the government. So anyway, that's it seems incentive, but it drives home that point that those were those times. I can't justify that. That's it's really bad. But that was the point, was that public administration, we're the people that actually get stuff done, right? So anyway, as you went through, I hope you read, right, chapter 1, the whole laundry list of things that public administration is. It includes like what government does, like I just explained, direct versus indirect government. Like for example, mosquito control. When I used to work as a planner down in Osceola County, before that, mosquito control was a government function. My boss's boss actually headed up the department for mosquito control. Now that gave them control over the services rendered. We had control over them. These were employing government workers, okay? But a vendor came in and said, hey, we can do this cheaper, okay? So they did. They did it cheaper. However, and that's indirect government, the problem is you lose a lot of the control. You contract out with this vendor. You say, okay, if you guys can do it better, cheaper, whatever, here's the deal. We're going to pay you this much. You have to do it this often, whatever. Well, what if they don't? I mean, look at Florida's unemployment system right now. There were all kinds. It was Swiss cheese. There was all kinds of holes in it. It didn't work. Well, that was a vendor that was doing this, and they've gone back and applied for another contract, right? That's another discussion. Anyway, that's direct versus indirect. One thing that you should notice, Department of Transportation, the state DOT, I think about 80% of their work is actually farmed out to private vendors. So it's not as big of an administrative department as you might think. Yeah, they pay the bills, but they pay other people to do it. So direct versus indirect. Also governance. I think that's also in that same section. Governance. It's basically how how decisions are made, not necessarily just doing it, but deciding what's going to be done. Like for example, it used to be, if you can picture a table, long conference table, government just said, this is what we're going to do. That's your marching orders. Now it's a round table, and it's like, okay, so this is what our plan is. Chime in, tell us, pros, cons, whatever. Give us feedback, and you collectively work with community partners, private individuals, whatever. That's governance. Be familiar with that term and what that entails. Other things covered within Chapter 1, regulation. It seems obvious, government regulates levels or quotas or whatever, that's what they do. And there's a rationale as to why they do this. It's not necessarily important as far as this discussion goes, but you get the idea. Theft. Where in the world does theft come in? Well, a lot of people think that government is oversteps its bounds on occasion. Matter of fact, our first discussion, one of our students actually mentioned, let me see here, Matthew Clapp. I'll call you out, and that's okay. I'm not trying to embarrass you, but did mention it. I think government needs to serve the needs of the public over theirs, as if the needs are distinct from one another. Well, and a lot of times they are, admittedly. Maybe government has an agenda. Maybe they have, a whole bunch of experts over here. This is what we need to do. Maybe individuals that are adversely impacted by that, view it as theft. Why are you taking my land? Why are you doing this to me? Why am I paying taxes for this? I'm a senior citizen, let's say. I'm not a senior citizen, but I don't have kids in public school anymore. Yet, most of my property taxes go to pay education at the local level and state level. I'm actually okay with it, but because they're positive externalities. I actually get a benefit. I get a better community in which to live. But there are other people that say, why am I paying this? Legitimate points, right? So, but that's where that comes from, the theft. Executive function and management, the list goes on. So just go through and just familiarize yourself with, all the levels of public administration, what it entails, and I think you'll be good.